Hi, this is Fatima. Here let us discuss about attribute routing in ASP.NET Core MVC application. Before proceeding to this video, watch my previous video where we have discussed about conventional based custom routing in ASP.NET Core MVC application. Attribute routing. With the help of the ASP.NET Core attribute routing, we can also use the route attribute to define the routes for our application. We can use the route attributes either at the controller level or at the controller action methods level. We can apply the route attribute at the controller level, then it is applicable for all the controller action methods. With attribute routing in ASP.NET Core MVC application, the controller name and the action method names do not play any role. Let us understand these things with some example. This is an ASP.NET Core web application we have created with a simple empty project template. Let us use this application in order to understand the attribute routing in ASP.NET Core MVC application. So let us do some modifications in our code before proceeding to do the changes for the attribute routing. So let us simply use MVC method without using any route templates. With these changes in place of the configure method of the startup class, now let's run the application. So if you navigate to any of the URL, application's root URL or home/index, you will see this HTTP 404 error only. This is because at this moment we do not have configured any routes in our application to handle the request. Now let us see how to use the attribute routing to map this incoming URL to the index action method of the home controller class. Let us modify this home controller class. Let us apply route attribute at this action method, index action method. So now we have applied route attribute 3 times on this index action method for the application root URL with simply navigating to home, with simply navigating to home index. The point we need to remember is that with each instance of the route attribute, we specified a different route template. Changes in place. Now let's run the application. Now you will see the output from the index action method of the home controller class for the application's root URL, as well if we navigate to the home, as well if we navigate to the home index as we mentioned in our route attribute here. As we already discussed, with conventional based routing we can specify the route parameter as a part of the route template. We can also do the same with this attribute routing. That means we can also define the route with parameters. So let us add some route attribute with parameters here to this details action method of the home controller class. So let us apply route attribute here with taking ID parameter. So let us have some route attribute here. So in this route template we can specify the ID as a parameter. So with these changes in place, now let's run the application. and if you navigate to the home details action method, and if we pass some parameter to it, you will see the product details of the ID that we passed in that URL. Because this URL will execute the details action method of the home controller class and maps the value 103 to the ID parameter of the details action method. This is done by the process of model binding, which we'll discuss in our upcoming video. So like conventional based routing, we can also make this parameter as an optional in attribute routing. To make this route parameter optional, simply we can add question mark at the end of this parameter. So without making this ID as an optional parameter, if we remove this and reload the page, you will see this HTTP 404 error. So now let us make this ID as an optional parameter. So with these changes in place, now let's run the application. So for this URL, we have not passed any ID parameter value in the URL, but we are not getting any 404 error. At the 404 error, we are seeing the product details of the product ID 101 as we have mentioned in this code. So if the ID value is null, by default it will take 101 as its ID value. Else it will take the value that passed through the route. So by this way we can make ID as an optional. With attribute routing in ASP.NET Core MVC, the controller name and the action method names do not play any role. Let us understand this by modifying this home controller class. So if we give some other name in this route attribute instead of the home controller, like sample home. Here I am giving the same sample home and the sample index. So with these changes in place, now let's run the application. So you will see the output that comes from the index action method of the home controller class for the application's root URL. Even if we navigate to the sample home that we mentioned in our route attribute, reload the page, you will see the output that comes from the index action method of the home controller class. Even if we navigate to the sample index, the output that comes from the index action method of the home controller class. So if you notice here, the controller name and the action method name do not play any role with this attribute routing. So we know that in ASP.NET Core MVC application, it is possible to apply the route attribute on the controller class as well on the individual action methods. If you want to make the attribute routing less repetitive, then we need to use the route attributes at the controller level. If you notice here, we have repeated the word home multiple times here. In order to make this route less repetitive, we need to apply this route attribute with the word home at the home controller class level. So let us add the route attribute with the word home here to this home controller class level. So now let us remove this route attribute with the home word mentioned in the individual action methods. Note that the route template applied on the controller level is prepended to the route template applied on the action method level. With these changes in place, now let's run the application and we'll see the output. Now if you navigate to the application's root URL, then you will get this HTTP error 404. In order to resolve this, we need to include the route template that begins with / on the index action method. So let us add one more route template with simply /. Let's run the application and navigate to the URL. You will see the output that comes from the index action method of the home controller class for the application's root URL itself. Now let us navigate to the home. You will see the same output as expected, and if you navigate to the index, you will see the output that comes from the index action method of the home controller class. Now if we navigate to the details action method, you will see the output as expected. Even if we pass some parameters, it will work as expected before. So if the action method route template starts with / or ~, then the controller route template is not going to be combined with the action method route template. So with these changes in place, now let's run the application and see. You will see the output that comes from the index action method of the home controller class in that application root URL itself. Hope you enjoyed this video. Our next video is about attribute routing using tokens in ASP.NET Core MVC. Thank you.